Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi there. It's nice to be here.
Yes.
It is so nice to have Kathy Callahan joining Ashley and myself from KK9 Dog Training. I'm Kay, I'm the owner. Ashley is our trainer who is going to be focusing on puppies, all things puppies. She's been teaching puppy primer, working really closely with Hannah. And I just thought it would be fantastic if we could talk to Kathy Callahan, who has recently released an amazing book,
That's it.
Welcoming Your Puppy from Planet Dog. I got this for everybody at KK9 because it's so wonderful. And
Thank you.
you can see all my little tabs
Love
here.
it.
It's
Love
just,
it.
it's just the best handbook that anyone could have for their life with a new puppy.
Thank you so much. That really it just came about because I work with puppy owners. I specialize in puppies just like you're going to, Ashley. And so I work with owners all the time, and I just know really what they're going through those first weeks and months. And so I wanted to write it in a way that really spoke to them and comforted them and helped them through what often ends up being a little more challenging than they expected in that first phase of puppyhood. So
I've had two puppies myself and grew
yeah,
up with dogs. So obviously each one is very different,
yeah.
but I wanted to pull my hair out a few times with those two.
This is the thing. And that's
Now
what
they're
I
great.
often tell people is that if you're feeling that way, it's normal. And if you haven't felt that way yet, it's probably going to happen next Tuesday because
Exactly.
it really is, we're not quite prepared for how 24/7 puppyhood is going to be.
Nope.
And for how challenging it's going to be and how much we're going to have to think ahead. Here's the thing though. What I want this book to do is bring the joy back into puppyhood because it doesn't have to really feel that way. If you are prepared and you do anticipate this stuff, and that's the real key, is that you're always thinking ahead about what things are going to go. It doesn't take that much thinking, but a little bit of thinking ahead saves you from so much of that stuff that makes you sit there in the middle of the night and think, what have I done? My life was perfect.
Yep.
Why did I think I needed a puppy? I want you to think, oh, yay, I don't know what we'd do without this puppy. And I feel like
Exactly.
the more you can prepare yourself, the more you really will feel that way.
Yep. I mean, with my second dog, Mac, he's a pit bull mix. And when we were going through his puppy stages, it was a rough one.
Yep.
And I've contemplated at night, like, I might have to get rid of him. I don't know if I can do this. And then here comes dog training.
Right.
And
Right.
felt like, oh, I can do this. It just
Absolutely.
takes a little bit more thinking ahead
That's
and
it.
also putting your mind into theirs and thinking, I'm going to put them in a room full of all these cool new things and wants to chew on everything, but they don't know what's a toy and what's not yet. So it's always, and again, with your book, Creating the Puppy Apartment, is, I think, super important,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with going through two puppies myself and thinking that they can have free reign, and they obviously cannot.
Honestly, I think that's probably the biggest mistake people make is not limiting
Yeah.
space right in the
And I'm
beginning.
victim to that.
But people also limit it too much.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the thing you just said before that, when you said getting into their minds, that's it. That's where you got to start, because if you can just get mindset right, your mindset right,
Yes.
then you're not going to make all those, you're not going to make mistakes if you operate. So that's why I titled the book. It's what is it? Welcoming Your Puppy from Planet Dog. And the concept is, what I started with is that basically what I want you to remember is that we've essentially kidnapped a baby from another planet. And you know, that's a terrible thing. Nobody wants to think about that. But as soon as you say that to a client, they all go, ah, because they do get it. It is something you
Yep.
can understand in your bones the second someone says that to you. And that's why I start with that, even though it's a little bit uncomfortable, because it does that empathy switch in their brain where they're like, oh, that, because anyone who's had a puppy, you're making 1,000 decisions a day. It's 1,000 reactions a day. And so if you operate out of that empathy, you're going to make good choices on all those. The only mistakes, people always worried are always worried they're going to screw up puppyhood. And it makes them stressed out and they feel like their puppy needs to be well trained and well behaved and they're all stressed out. the only way you're going to screw this up is if you don't operate out of empathy, because the real mistakes are when you do things that make your puppy feel unsafe. So that is when you're leaving your puppy alone too much, and when you're yelling at your puppy, and your puppy, this baby we've kidnapped from another planet, ends up feeling not safe, and that you're not the rock that you should be, since you're the one who really brought him here. And so as long as you can be that rock and you operate out of that empathy, and you think about, again, just like you said, get inside their minds. Wait, what's he feeling? What's he thinking right now? How can we work around that? How can we start with where he is and get him to where we want him to be? As long as you start with that empathy, you're not going to screw up puppyhood. You're not. It's going to be fine. So
I always like to compare in some, and it clicks in others people's heads. Like, imagine like you're actually having your own kid.
right.
So
Right.
like you limit their space. Why? Like you would close the bathroom door so your baby or toddler wouldn't run into there.
Right.
So let's do the same thing for your puppy.
Right. You would
It's
puppy
gonna be the same thing.
No, it's true. You kid proof, you put on the child locks, and you put
Yep,
covers on over
exactly.
the
And
outlets.
now you got a dog proof.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I generally, how I phrase that is that you want to create a world of yes for your puppies. So the natural thing, because these puppies who have, before they get to you, every single moment of their lives, they have been jumping, digging, chewing, biting, barking, doing all the doggy things that feel terrific to them with their family.
Yep.
And no one's mad at them. And then we take them home one day. We're all happy. And they get there. And then because we're stressed and we're trying to do the right thing and we're trying to raise them right, and we've been told that we need to set boundaries and we yell at them all the time. We yell at them when they pee. We yell at them when they bite. We yell at them when they jump up. I mean, that's old-fashioned dog training. Hopefully we're moving away from that. But still, it's kind of a natural thing that we get mad at them for all the things that are completely natural for a
But
dog.
then it's also irritating to us. Like, yeah, I don't want
Right.
anybody to pee on my carpet.
Right.
At the
Of
same
course.
time, doggy doesn't know. Because when
Yes.
they're in their little puppy pile with their mom and their siblings, they don't go outside to pee.
Right.
They pee wherever they please.
Right.
Just not what I
Although,
see.
except the thing is, you can work with their natural impulses too, because in fact, they do step off of their, even, so we have fostered over 200 puppies in our house. So we take in pregnant moms, they have babies. So I watched that whole thing from start to finish. They do, at 3 weeks old, they are crawling off the bed to pee, not where they live. And
Yep.
then crawl back. 3 weeks old. They've barely opened their eyes. They're already doing that. So all we have to do is set it up so that that natural impulse of theirs, wait, I shouldn't pee where I live, gets a chance to kick in. And that's what the puppy apartment's about. So the puppy apartment is when you limit the space in your home. And that typically, so what I see people do, and because I want you to create a world of yes for your puppies that is small enough that he does have that potty training feeling of, shoot, I don't want to pee here, I live here. But it also can't be so small. So people either make the mistake of letting their puppy go all over the house, where for sure they're tinkling behind the couch, behind the, like, all sorts of places, because they're like, no one really lives here. I'm just going to go behind this thing.
Yep.
Or they go too small. And what I see a lot is people setting up a little pen. I'm sure you see this too, like just a little X pen. They put in a little circle and they put the puppy things in there and they set it up and they think that's going to be great. And that feels terrific, because in your head, before you get your puppy, you have compartmentalized. You're like, that's where the puppy mess will be. And then our life will be here. That doesn't work, because you don't want to spend time in there. Your puppy doesn't want to be alone, and you don't want to be in that pen. You might want to be there the first 2 days, and then you're like, oh, it's too small in there. Plus, your puppy is super excited every time you get in there. And so there's way more biting and mouthing and jumping, because you just got in there and you were this big, happy arrival. If instead your puppy apartment is like your kitchen that opens to the backyard, then that's a place where you can happily hang out for the next 3 weeks or whatever it's going to be. I like to think about it as 3 weeks where the two of you are going to hang out together a lot, and you bring your laptop in there. Maybe you're working from home, but you are realizing this is a key moment. It's not forever. You're not trapped home forever. Some of what everyone's doing is spinning out like, this is my life. I can't leave the home. Yeah, you can in a few months. Hang on. This is
Yep.
3 weeks. Let's give it 3 weeks where you create a puppy apartment where you and the puppy hang out really like a whole lot of the time, kind of almost all the time. And you're working, you're cooking, you're chatting, you're having friends over. It's all happening in the puppy apartment. Sometimes you go out for field trips for the rest of the house, but that's only after you've peed outside. You know, you've got 15, 20 minutes. Then you can go on a field trip to a bedroom and read books with the kids for 20 minutes. Then you're going to come back to the puppy apartment and hang out there. And what that does is, first of all, the potty training assistance there, because the puppy really understands, shoot, I live here. I don't really want to pee here. It helps all that happen faster. And then the other thing is that if your puppy's used to you just hanging out all the time, your puppy's going to start to settle at your feet. Yay. Isn't that what we all want? Honestly,
Best
this is what
feeling.
people want. People actually want a sleeping dog, I feel, you know, because so
Yeah.
often the puppy really wants too much from us. And if you if you hang out in a great puppy apartment that works for people and the puppy gets used to you guys just hanging together, and sometimes you're interacting and sometimes you're not. Whereas if you do a small little pen, the puppy is so often not with you that all the time, whenever he does see you, he's like, oh my gosh, and it's going to be over arousal, and you're teaching over arousal. So anyway, puppy apartment concept for puppy apartment is that you're creating a good 3-week initial space where you're all hanging out and you're starting to teach planet human things. And so the puppy can't screw up in there. There's nothing for him to mess up. There's nothing for him to chew. There's nothing for him to destroy. And yet there's lots for you to teach him. You can use patterns. You can teach him what to expect. This is what happens at this time. This is what happens when I sit down. This is what happens when I'm cooking. You're teaching him the patterns of planet human in a space where he can't really mess up. So your relationship can stay safe and happy because you're not yelling at him all day.
Yeah.
You know?
And nobody wants to be yelled at all day. And if
Nope.
you do something that you don't even think is wrong, and that's where like we have toys that look like a shoe and toys that look like a sock, well, then they're gonna go grab your sock and start tearing that up. So I always try to encourage them to get a toy that looks like a stick or something else that doesn't resemble something that you really don't want them to chew on.
Yeah, and honestly, anything that's in there, for we're talking little puppies, anything that's that's grabbable for them should be a toy.
Oh yeah.
They just shouldn't have shoes grabbable for them because they are going to, you know, that's later. That's later.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
that's one, you know, so.
So I'm gonna be the timekeeper here.
Yep. Good for you.
So the planet dog, the puppy the planet human, integrating our baby from planet dog into planet human, using the puppy apartment, we totally we want to offer that assistance to clients as we move into this kind of using your language, Kathy, using your book as kind of a framework for what we're offering. I really want folks to understand that we want to be a resource for helping to set this up. And I'm just so grateful that you put this into such a usable format that we can, you know, that we can use all the way across, you know, the country.
Love
And
that.
so discipline is the next thing on my little list of points we were going to cover. And that is such an interesting word. You know that I'm a career educator in like school situation, and discipline is such an interesting concept with children, because I think the connotation in many people's minds is that discipline is what we think of as punishment, but that's not what discipline is at all. Discipline in my mind is simply a steering in the right direction. It's discipline does not equal punishment. So can you speak to that as far as how you address that in your book,
Sure.
Kathy?
I mean, and we can get lost in the words that we're using to describe things. What I will tell you is that I almost never say the word no. So of course I've had 1 million dogs over 1 million years, and I used 30 years ago, I said no all the time. And now almost never, because when something happens that I feel the need to say no to, it's because I realize I set it up wrong. I set it up wrong by not meeting the puppy's needs first. So he's bursting with energy, or he's too curious, or he's scared, or whatever. Or I haven't taught it well. And so I need to back up and start over again. And so when I think of the word discipline now in regard to puppies, I think about, I want humans to have the discipline to think things through ahead of time so that there aren't constant frustrations. So I really, and when I talk about how I don't say no and I don't use discipline a lot, I think people initially might picture that I have terrible dogs, or I teach and they're all over the place and they're jumping, they're being horrible, and that all of my clients' dogs don't behave. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's just that I get to good behavior by meeting needs and teaching. And I think that historically there's been way too much emphasis on getting to good behavior through disciplining. So rather than teaching them what you want them to do and helping them be able to do that by exercising them correctly and giving them appropriate canine adventures where they're sniffing and digging and chewing and playing and all that kind of stuff, and then asking them to calmly lie around during dinner time, instead of setting them up for success like that, the old-fashioned way of dealing with that is just kind of yelling at them and telling them no and having them be in trouble if they aren't behaving right, and that's the discipline that makes a good dog. Just nope, not a way I can live. I've never been able to do that. That struck me wrong. I was in 7th grade when I got my first dog, begged for that dog, went to a training class, and it was all about that. It was all about no. And I was just like, hey, nope, can't, nope, not, this is not for me. And sadly, I never trained after that dog. And he wasn't well behaved because we didn't know anything, but I knew enough to know that approach wasn't going to work for me. I really wish old little 7th grade me had fallen in with a better group of trainers who would have helped me understand my dog's needs and help me understand how I can meet those planet dog needs and teach the planet human things that would make all of us be able to live happily together in the same house.
And not all dogs learn the same either. So with my 2 dogs, my first dog, I don't want to say he was a terrible puppy, but he's probably the one that made me want to pull my hair out the most. And then I got my second one. Potty training went way better than the first, but then he started having behavioral issues. Started a little bit with reactivity. So I thought now's the time to go see a trainer. And it was a no discipline, telling me not to give my dog a treat for looking at me. He has to do something. He has to, do something every time before you even give him a treat. Yeah. But yet with KK, we teach eye contact. We want the eye contact. That's a good thing to have. So it really broke me down when this trainer felt like this trainer was telling me that I was a bad dog mom. Yeah. Because I like to give my dog treats when he was looking at me, or if we're just sitting quietly when I know he likes to react at other dogs. But it's just like a huge broad range, and we were taught to strictly discipline. And when he went after a dog, to yank him back and spray him with something, and then I learned that he was even more reacting off of that and off of me, because I was getting super frustrated because I didn't want to discipline him like that. And I was told to discipline him like that. He was reacting. So then he started reacting even more. Yeah. So I thought, oh my God, what am I doing to my dog? And then I went to KK9 with Hannah and Kay, and it took 2 sessions, and it was like a huge switch in my head, and also a switch for my dog. Yep. He's not a bad dog, and I'm not a bad dog mom. Exactly. We all have a lot to learn. The right discipline and using it a different way. Dogs can learn no matter what their problems are. It's just finding the way that works for them and using the right kind of the discipline.
Yeah, I don't even think about the word discipline. I just think about, so a dog who is
Yeah.
reacting a lot is having a lot of big feelings. What is that reactivity about?
Yes.
What are the big feelings about? Is that about over arousal because they're excited to play with the dog they're
Mhm.
petting? Or is it about terror where they really they feel very threatened by that?
Yep.
The more you think about what is happening for that dog, the more you can give them the gift of distance.
Yep.
So that and predictability, and help them understand what's going to be expected from them in that situation. Help them understand it doesn't mean anyway. Reactivity is a whole different
Yeah.
thing, and it doesn't have anything to do with puppies.
Well,
The point is, it's easy to get bad information from the internet, from other trainers, from all kind of stuff. And what I want people to do is trust their gut. Like if something is feeling wrong to you, if you are being told to kind of be mad at your dog and if something isn't sitting right with you, listen to your gut, and maybe it's time to read a different book, find a different trainer, because certainly we all do need some experts, because there's just really, I'm such a better dog owner than I was 30 years ago because I've just learned a ton. All of us have a journey to absorb that you can't know everything, and you got to forgive yourself also for not knowing everything, but if you are operating out of empathy, you're probably not going to screw up too badly. And so that's why that is the big point in my book, is that you can't know everything, but if you are starting with, take a deep breath, understand that this is kind of going to be a big project for you, and then start with empathy for this puppy. Think first, oh, wait a sec. What's he feeling? He must be confused. He must be scared. Start there, and you're not going to screw up too much.
When the word reactivity came up, and we don't want to go down that rabbit hole because that's beyond what we're talking about today. However, it did occur to me though that we lost Ashley. Oh, there she is.
She's back.
Lost her briefly.
Lost me for a second.
But a lot of dogs who do end up having those reactivity issues, it ends up being it shows up on their leash walks.
Yes.
And we were going to talk about walks and leashes in the context of puppies, and how just popping a leash on and thinking you're going to walk down the street, it just hurts my heart to think about it. And
it doesn't happen.
there are so many
Yep.
great things that we can do to prepare so that can happen eventually. So Kathy, I would love for you to speak to the walks, leash,
Yep.
That trail here for a moment.
That's so true. And it's often such a disappointing moment for owners, because they've been looking forward to getting this puppy forever. And one of the things they've been fantasizing about is they're going to walk him down the street and all the neighbors are going to see him and he's going to be so cute. And they put on the leash, they put on the collar, and they put on the leash, and they head out, and their dog puts on the brakes. Like, that puppy is not going anywhere and is pulling back to the house. And they're like, what is this? What? Come on, all dogs like walks. And they're shocked. And then they try it again later, same thing. Maybe they get a few more steps, but then the dog just can't wait to come back home, and people are stunned. And sometimes what they do is they just pull the puppy along, and they're just like, you're going to get used to it. You'll like it eventually. And that is just, it's the worst thing you can do, because here's the thing. You, again, think about this baby we've kidnapped from Planet Dog. Were there collars on Planet Dog? No. Were there leashes on Planet Dog? No. Were there trucks and cars and neighbors and, tree cutting companies on Planet Dog? No. So you're asking that puppy to absorb all of this new stuff in the same moment that he's just met you. You are not his rock yet. And this is the really important thing, is that it is a key part of puppyhood that you're going to introduce this puppy to all sorts of new things. But first, he needs to trust you for those new things to feel okay to him. It's all going to work best if he first knows, wait, as long as mom's at my side, I guess it's going to be okay. He's going to feel braver. He's going to be more able to hang out in that situation a little longer, get a little closer, sniff a little more, give it a try. But if he doesn't trust you, and if you're the person who drags him toward things that scare him, that trust gets sent way backward. If instead you always let the puppy take the lead about, how close we're going to get, how long this is going to last, whether we need it to be quieter or farther away. If you let the puppy's body language tell you what's okay, puppy can trust you more, and you're going to be able to go faster and closer if you go at the puppy's pace. If instead you are forcing things because you're in a rush, because you really wanted to take that puppy to Main Street on Saturday, if you are pushing all that stuff, your puppy will trust you less, and you won't have this process will go so much more slowly, and your puppy's going to be nervous. So in terms of teaching the leash, just the best thing to do is you don't have to go anywhere. Stop needing to go so many places. So there's a caveat here for people who live in a city apartment. And if you need to go downstairs and outside to have your puppy pee, that's a little bit more difficult. But let's not start with there. Let's start with people who can stay in their own yard or in a quiet little spot to pee and stuff, so they don't have to go on a big walk first. You want to teach that leash just in your dining room. So you are playing around and you are building trust, and you're running around what you're doing. You've got treats. Oh, okay. Food, lots and lots of food, you guys. Food. Stop thinking that that's bribing. This is communication. This is an interspecies gift of communication. They don't know our whole language, nor do we know theirs, but food is a positive thing between us. So you are going around your dining room table and the puppy's following you. And every time the puppy's on your left, you say yes. And the puppy gets a little treat. Keep going. Go fast, then go slow. Go fast, then go slow. And every time that puppy is right at your left, you know what happens? The puppy gets a treat. You know what the puppy starts to do? Puppy starts to follow you around and hang out on your left. That is the beginnings of a beautiful walk that's going to work for both of you. And it's teaching your puppy that it's rewarding to make eye contact with you and to stick around you. So in terms of getting used to the leash, then the leash can be, so if you have an incredible breeder, they've gotten the puppy already used to a collar and a leash and maybe even walks, but most breeders don't have time to do all that stuff. It's great. Look for one. If you can find one, look for one. But most don't. I foster puppies, and I try my darndest to do that when I've got a litter. But guess what? I don't have time either. And so I will try to introduce a leash real quickly. But gosh, when I have 8 puppies, this stuff takes a lot of time, and I often don't. So that's you. You are, as the owner, you are introducing that weird thing that it feels like a trapping thing around a neck, or maybe it's a harness. And then the harness feels weird around that little body too. Understand how weird this would be. You just got here and somebody is tying you up and pulling you around. Like, that feels weird. So I love to just let that leash drag all the time. So for whether it's an hour or 4 days, depending on the puppy, I do a lot of getting a really light leash, like a kitty leash that isn't heavy and that won't feel like much. Let it drag and play lots of games. I get lots of treats, and I'll play find it. So I'm tossing treats ahead of the puppy, so the puppy's walking. Find it while they are dragging that leash. The reason I'm doing the find it is because otherwise the puppy's going to fixate on that leash and grab it in his mouth, and that's going to become the game or the uncomfortable thing or whatever. I want to distract, engage, distract, engage with me and food, while that leash is kind of dragging there. What is that? I don't really know. Until the puppy kind of doesn't care about that, until the leash is not really a thing anymore. Then we can start to take that show on the road. So maybe it was after an hour the puppy was fine, but again, maybe it wasn't until Saturday. And then we can take it in the backyard, and we can do that whole thing over again in the backyard. But we want to expect this is a whole nother thing for him to think about. He just got used to that whole leash idea and walking around, and okay, sticking around the left, that's kind of cool. Mom has treats when she has the leash. But now we're outside and I hear someone barking and I hear a truck and I hear a plane, and you can just expect that every one of those things is going to throw this puppy off a little. It might not, but for most puppies, all those things are going to throw them off, and you can just talk them through it. Use the Mr. Rogers hack. Kim Murphy talks about the Mr. Rogers hack. This is my favorite thing. And it just means, so puppies, dogs have the receptive language ability of a toddler. That's a lot, you guys. That's a lot of words. So talk to them. We underutilize that. Historically, we use 6 cues and that's all. don't. Talk to them all the time about things that are important to them, like, that's a dog barking. I hear it. I hear that dog barking. You say it enough, and your puppy starts to realize, oh, wait a minute. She is hearing the same thing I am. Every time I hear that sound, she says that same word. But look, she's relaxed about it. Plus, she gave me a treat. That's the Mr. Rogers hack. You start narrating the world for your puppy about predictable things, and your puppy can start to relax about stuff because he doesn't have to figure out every new thing every time. If you tell him, I use they're fixing it for landscaping crews and painting crews and construction crews when we're on a walk, I'll say, it's okay, they're fixing it. It just means bunch of guys in a weird uniform and there's a big truck and there's some equipment and it's all freaking me out. If I say, it's okay, they're fixing it, my dogs, I kid you not, are like, oh, cool. And they just completely relax around it because it helps them predict. It falls into a category. It enables them to understand we're just going to walk around this thing. It's going to mean nothing. It doesn't alter us at all. And we're going to carry on. So the first leash experiences for puppies, you are introducing them to more than the leash. You're introducing them to the whole world. It's important to expect they will be thrown off a little bit by that. You do not want to pull them. You want to, I actually really continue letting them drag the leash when we're out in the street. Obviously, this depends on where you live, but like you can run faster than an 8-week-old puppy. So, typically I really do like having the leash drag because if I pick it up, it's more likely there's going to end up being tension on that between us. And I don't want that. And instead, I can pretty much rely on my voice and my body language and my treats to keep that puppy totally with me. And he's getting used to the feeling of the leash, but we aren't pulling against each other, which is a vibe I want to continue forever. I never want tension on the leash. That leash, the goal, obviously this is pie in the sky, but it's also something to keep in your head all the time. That leash is a safety device. It is not a steering wheel. It is not a steering wheel.
Can I say an amen?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the lowest common denominator. We just think that we can just pull them around. Why do we think it's fine to manhandle these guys? Stop it. We have words. They can listen. We can also listen to them. And so my walks are a combination of following them to where they want to sniff. I don't allow rude pulling, but I am looking for a back and forth for our walk that works for all of us, that does not involve either of us pulling. And that starts in puppyhood. So I do, those first walks are dragging the leash. I am dancing around. I'm doing Find It. I'm playing Mr. Rogers. I'm saying, yep, I see a car. Do you see that car? There's a neighbor. It's a friend. I am narrating all that stuff, helping the puppy feel good about it. And when the puppy needs to hesitate, I let the puppy hesitate and gather data. This is a big part of socialization, is just gathering data. They don't have books to read. They can't sit. I mean, they kind of can watch TV, but they can't. We're the ones who need to teach them about the world. And the best way to do that is to take them out into the world at a safe distance. Let them watch it. Let them come to their own conclusions. Keep them far enough away that they're totally safe. Nothing scary is going to happen to them. We're right next to them and they can watch that, oh, trucks go by and nothing bad happens to me. And sometimes mom gives me a hot dog. So you just want to keep up that kind of gathering data, watching, seeing enough things. We don't want our puppies parked inside our very routine, predictable house all day so that they look like super playful, confident puppies in our home. And then we're shocked one day when we take them out somewhere and they're terrified of everything. So keep in mind, we want them to gather data safely.
And it's small chunks. I really want to emphasize that to anybody who's listening and is maybe thinking of bringing their puppy home and doing field trips and doing these, things out in the world. The world is, the big world for them might just be outside the front door. So we're talking 2-minute experiences. We're not talking going for a walk for 10 minutes. We're talking 2 minutes, 3 minutes. These short little experiences are what normalize the world. A 10-minute experience for a new puppy is it's way too much. So I just want to add that caveat because you know, I'm thinking, oh, this, you know, I'm picturing in my head, walking down the street, going down the block. It's too much.
You don't need, you
So,
just don't need to do that. And the best, your front stoop can be the best adventure ever for your dog.
we call it
People who have
front porch
front
TV.
porches, if you have a front porch,
Oh,
God bless you, your socialization is done. Sit on the front porch and just name things that go by. Your puppy
Yep.
feels safe and it's fantastic. And the other thing can be your car too, is that you can also take a puppy in the car and park at a park and kind of watch things and also get little pieces of cheese. And the other thing is, about that time limit is it helps relieve the stress on humans, because if the humans are sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I have to socialize the puppy, I have to take him on all these different places and I don't have time. You do have time, because we're talking about 5 minutes. Like, have your neighbor come over for a chit chat for 2 minutes. Have him, I mean, it doesn't even have to be long as a cup of coffee. Have your neighbor come over, just, and not come over to Zoom over to pick up your puppy and interact. Just come over and hang out in your entryway for a second. Talk to each other. If the puppy comes over to your neighbor to say hi, fantastic. But mainly it's just allowing your puppy to see a new human, smell a new human, hear a new human's voice. And if they choose, go over and interact with a new human. 5 minutes, done. Check that off for the day. You just did a big thing.
so they get tired so quickly, which brings us to our last point, which is crating and sleeping. And they need so much sleep. And I just wonder, Kathy, if you speak to crating and sleeping.
So
Big
that
deal.
is often, just like toddlers, often the behaviors that you see that looks like a wild child is actually an overtired little puppy. And so it helps so much if you can get into the swing of a pattern of when are our naps. Because in fact, the newest puppies, the 8-week-olds, they're sleeping half the time. They should be sleeping half the time. And sometimes in a busy household with a lot of kids, that can either make a puppy terrific at sleeping through anything if they're a good sleeper, or can make them wake up every single time there and have FOMO. Like, I hear someone, oh, something good happening, and then they get up and they don't have a nap. And then those families, the ones who are like, he's so bitey, he's so jumpy. And it's because he's not getting enough sleep. So the crating is the most difficult thing for parents to deal with right in that first week, 3 weeks, because there's all sorts of feelings about how it needs to be done and how it absolutely needs to progress. And it's difficult to talk about that because every puppy isn't the same. Every family isn't the same. What I will say is that it helps a lot to make sure that you understand your puppy does need to sleep a lot, and you need to set it up so that your puppy feels the ability to calm down and go to sleep. And you may have to help that. And so that setup helps a lot with that. If you do have a nice, quiet puppy apartment, if you've got it, the way I do crating. So here's my favorite way of doing crating is put an open crate inside the puppy apartment. So let's say the puppy apartment's your kitchen. We've got an open crate in there. If your puppy likes to sleep on cold floors, and you can tell this by watching where does your puppy naturally sleep, then don't put a bed inside your crate. If your puppy loves the bed, stick the bed inside the crate. What you don't want to do is have the terrific sleeping spot be outside of the crate, because the puppy will never choose the crate. So do what you need to make sure that the crate is the obvious and only place for the puppy to, when he's finally feeling tired, to go in and sleep in there. So I love to set that up right next to me. I've got my laptop, I'm writing, I'm doing my stuff. That crate is right there. We've played, we had a play date with the dog next door. We went for a little walk. We've come home. Now it really is time for the puppy to have a nap. So I get boring and I'm going to pay attention to my computer, and the puppy hopefully will toddle into the crate. And that's when I'm going to drop stuff inside that crate. I'm going to drop a little bit of food. I'm going to just, so every single time that puppy wanders into the crate, something fun's going to rain from the sky. It's okay, Moji. It's my German Shepherd, so she's going to bark at things that go by. So we want the crate to always feel positive to them. So when they wander in on their own, great stuff happens. And then sometimes when I feel that I can, I am going to shut that door. I'm going to give them something long lasting. I'm going to stay right there when I am first closing that door. And because we're in the puppy apartment all the time and I'm sitting at my computer all the time. So this is more like at day 4 or something that I'm going to experiment with shutting the door. I've already seen the puppy going, hey, Yoshi. Um, I've already seen the puppy. So I'm instead of getting mad at Mojo, I'm giving Mojo a different activity. I'm throwing food on the floor. So if I've seen the puppy choosing to go into the crate, the puppy likes to sleep in there, isn't scared. Maybe we've done some crate games like throwing a ball in the crate and then coming out, throwing a stuffed animal in the crate and coming out. If all that's kind of going well, I'm going to experiment with shutting that door when the puppy next goes in, but I'm going to sit right next to the puppy and I'm going to give him a marrow bone or a bully stick or a topple that's stuffed with his regular kibble to keep him entertained. And I'm going to shut that door, but I'm right here and his attention is on this cool new thing he just got. And I'm going to shut that door and sit right there. Maybe we've got music on. I love to play Bach and Taylor Swift's Evermore. And this isn't something to think about, is that sometimes if you can get your puppies used to a certain sounds mean it's nap time. The latest litter, seriously, Evermore and Folklore is what my foster puppies go to sleep to. And I swear to you, the humans at their new homes play that when they want to crate them and they go in and they go to sleep. So
Yep.
anyway,
I play music for my dogs when it's nap time or we leave for work. They're in
Yep.
their kennels and they have music on and they have a Kong in their crate
Yep.
and it's happy time.
It does. It signals a certain thing. Like they've built a connection in their head with that. That music means calm, relax. I'm going to chill out now.
And also the crate with that can help when your dog is overstimulated or things are going way too crazy on in the house. You got kids running around, you got a lot of people, put them in the crate, put the music on. It's calm time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want people to get to that point where that with their adult dog, the crate has signals for them, lovely, relaxing private retreat. But what happens is sometimes in puppyhood, people are so desperate to be able to leave the home and they can't leave the home unless the puppy's in the crate because they feel like it's not safe. So they rush it and they want to stick the puppy in there and shut that door way before the puppy is ready to feel comfortable with that. He's either not comfortable with the confinement or not comfortable with being alone. And so if you rush that, then you might be screwing yourself for later on down the line when you want your adult dog to feel happy about that crate. So I just make it with puppies. I sit there, I make myself be happy to sit in this puppy apartment right next to the puppy. I give him the bully stick, the topple, or the marrow bone to enjoy while I'm shutting that door for the first time. Hopefully they're so distracted by it, but then either they're going to fall asleep because I timed it well. Timing is huge. Don't put them in unless they are ready for a nap. So make sure you've given them a ton of regular enrichment before you stick them in there. They really are ready for a nap. You know they are. Stick them there with something to chew. You're right next to them. Hopefully they fall asleep. That door is shut. Don't go away. The temptation is like, okay, I'm going to go to the store. Nope. This is your moment. Stop it. Stick with it. It's only 3 weeks of your life. Stick with it and wait till that nap is over. Give yourself get yourself. And again, this is setting yourself up. You have to have thought ahead of time. What am I going to do with myself during that nap so that I don't feel the need to leave that room? Be ready. Have your writing project or your Zoom or whatever it is that you're going to do. Be ready to feel like you have everything you need in that room because you want to be there when that puppy opens her eyes and she looks up at you and you're like, hey, and you open that crate door and she's like, hey, that wasn't bad. That was a great nap. I got to chew on a good thing and mom was right there. And then I left. Then repeat that very same thing 2-3 times a day for the next week. And guess what? Now you've got a puppy who doesn't panic at the closed door because that has happened a million times. Mom has always been there when she wakes up and she always gets something great to chew. Now you can start to progress to, and again, Is this after 2 days or 2 weeks? It depends on the puppy. But now you can start to progress to closing the door and going across the room. Maybe you're going to do the dishes and come back. Maybe you're going to go to the bathroom and come back. Maybe you're going to go upstairs and switch laundry and come back. But again, it's quick and you come back before she has a chance to panic. And again, if she's asleep, you go there and you're going to be there when she opens her little eyes so that she doesn't open her eyes and spend half an hour scared because you're gone. None of this all sounds miserable if you think about, wait, I have to do this for the rest of my life. You don't. This is a really, really critical 3 weeks. And if you just commit for these 3 weeks, set yourself up, have ideas to amuse yourself in the puppy apartment for 3 weeks of ideas. And as long as you sit there, you're going to have a puppy who loves her crate by the end of 3 weeks, who's like happy to go in there. And then eventually, you don't have to use timing so much for your crating. In the beginning, I think it's critically important that you use the puppy's timing, not your own, for crating. Because what people will do is they're like, well, I've got to take the kids to school, so now it's time to crate. Well, not if your puppy just woke up and was crated all night and now you're trying to put the puppy back in. Instead, in the beginning, you have to figure out your life, use your village, do whatever you need to do to not close that door until you're ready to close that door, and use the puppy's timing. When is the puppy going to be tired, as opposed to when do you need to leave the house? Again, this is not the rest of your life. It's 3 weeks. So just throw yourself into that kind of planning and you will be able to do this crate training. But just you cannot expect that it's just going to be fine that you toss this puppy in a crate and shut the door whenever it's convenient for you. The puppy's going to cry, 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 cry. And then you're in a bad spot. So then what do? The puppy cry, cry, cry. Do you open the door then? What do we now teach the puppy? That, as soon as you
Crying
get
so
Crying
crying means
adorable.
get out.
yeah. So, I mean, you just don't want to get in that situation. I don't ever want a puppy crying in a crate. I really don't. I want to set it up so that they're not crying in the crate, so that they always are ready for that crate. Then later, if you've done that, you will be able to pop your adult dog in the crate whenever you kind of need to. And it will be the signal for the adult dog, just like we were saying, to relax. Okay, it's time to relax. But when they are new to the crate, you have to wait until they're actually tired and actually ready to either sit down or chew or to actually go to sleep.
You know what? We have covered all 5 of the points that we were going to cover, and we could go on, I'm sure, for 2 more hours, but
Yes.
we are kind of at our
Well,
time.
and plus these puppy people, they have to get back to the puppy. They don't
I
have
know,
time. They
I
don't have
know.
time for this. Come on.
But I do want to leave anyone who's listening to this, I want to leave them with the invitation to, number 1, buy this book, Welcoming Your Puppy from Planet Dog. And if
Also available on Kindle and very soon audio, July 30th.
Oh.
I just recorded the audio version. So July 30th, that'll be out.
that is fabulous. And so when you're ready to start thinking about a puppy, get in touch with us. Get in touch with KK9 Dog Training. If you're, in Northern Colorado, we would love it if you called us before that puppy comes home. We would love to help you set up your puppy apartment. Ashley is going to be available for puppy consultations. We're going to walk you through instead of you having to guess. We want to set up a system where we're with you from before the puppy comes home throughout that whole process. And so give us a call, get in touch. We would love to support you in any way that we can, and hopefully the best way that we can, not just, oh, you're going to make it. We want to give you tools and strategies, not just pie in the sky. Kathy, I can't even tell you how grateful I am for your time. I met Kathy at the Legs in Motion conference in Asheville last December, and I'm so grateful to have met you and for your expertise, and thank you for your time today. We just
right back at you. I'm so happy that we met, and Ashley, it was lovely to meet you today too.
Me too.
All right, folks, I'm going to stop the recording and thank you all for being here and thanks everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks.